All right, I am here to answer the question, what if all of the board members are related? Now, usually with a new nonprofit, and I'm generally talking about new nonprofits, but this really can apply to any small nonprofit that might be facing this question. What if you have a board that is all family? Usually the legal minimum in most states is to have 3 directors. So you're not going to be able to do it yourself. And let's say Delaware, you can have less than 3. Does that mean you should have less than 3? No, it's generally recognized that a minimum of 3 directors is a good idea, if not a few more. Can they legally all be related? Well, there are a lot of ways that could happen. What if it's 2 spouses and their child? What if it's cousins? Your aunties on the board, your siblings are on the board. The thing is, the only time this is really okay is if it's a family foundation. And by that, I mean like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, like a giant pot of money, and your family sits on the board and gives out money, gives out grants to other nonprofits. If we're talking about a garden variety nonprofit public charity that is a dog rescue or a youth organization or a soup kitchen or other program focused nonprofit that's doing the work, then the whole board should not be from one family. Why? Well, in a word, because of conflicts and because of optics. So, for the conflicts, if you have a conflict of interest, you can't make a decision, and your entire board is made up of your close family members, you have a problem. Let's say that you've got 3 siblings on the board and they all live together in a house, and one of them runs a social media marketing company, and the nonprofit would like to decide to hire the siblings' nonprofit social media marketing company. Now, that might be a great idea. Maybe they're going to give you a giant discount. But if everybody on the board is related to you, you can't really observe a conflicts of interest policy. There's no one left to make the decision. So inherently, you have a problem because you can't have anybody step away and step out of the room and recuse themselves from the decision. And that is what brings the optics problem, because it looks bad to donors and funders and people on the outside when it seems like it's a little group that's going to potentially be taking money and making decisions to spend it in ways that could be self-interested. Now, have I seen nonprofits function with family members on the board? Yes. But what I always recommend is that if you and your spouse are going to start a nonprofit organization, you should go from 3 board members to 5 board members. And that's because if you and your spouse are on the board and you need to make a decision that one of you has a conflict, the other one also has a conflict because you're married. Now, if you two step out of the room, you leave 3 people to make a decision. You can have a majority when 3 people are left. If it's you two and one other person, well, is that really observing a conflicts policy? You're like, well, we're both going to leave the room and you just decide, okay, by yourself. That doesn't feel good and doesn't look good from the outside. So the reason we don't want to have all of the board members be related to each other through some means, and we want to have some neutral third parties on our board, is because we want to be able to observe conflicts of interest, and we want to communicate to people that we are a legitimate, on the up and up nonprofit. And if that's not you and you're looking to be a scammer, then quit watching this video because I'm not trying to help you. So I hope that answers the question. If all of our board members are related, it's time to add more, or decide if one of those people or 2 of those people doesn't really need to be on the board. Maybe they want to be a paid executive director someday anyway, and they should be serving in that role as a volunteer right now instead of as a director. There are different ways to solve the problem, but generally, I would say if you and your spouse are going to be on the board, you should increase the number of board members to avoid the appearance of impropriety. And if you're applying for tax exemption, you don't want the IRS looking at this and going, well, you say you have a conflicts policy, but you're clearly all related. That doesn't work, right? We want to have a successful application for the IRS and we want to have a successful nonprofit. So we want to make that board bigger or make it so that we can actually have some impartial people making decisions whenever a conflict arises.